More than two-thirds of Americans, about 68%, identify as Christians. So why is it that many people fight to remove expressions of Christian faith from the public square? Arresting pro-life advocates like Mark Houck or others who pray and counsel people outside abortion clinics. Well, Young Voices commentator Alexander Salter contends that public Christianity is as American as apple pie. That's the title of an article he recently wrote for National Review Online. He joins us now to explain. Alexander, we usually talk with you about economics, but you're concerned about the misunderstanding that many Americans have about the role of the Christian faith in public life. So set us straight here. What do we need to understand?
Thanks again for having me. I think what we need to understand is pretty straightforward. Properly understood, America is a Christian nation. The American founding is inexplicable without understanding Christian teachings on the dignity of human persons and understanding where natural rights come from. There's simply no way that we can do justice to the American experiment, historical or ongoing, if we don't appreciate the role of Christianity and public Christianity in American life.
Well, politically, many people on the left are concerned about the rise of Christian nationalism. That somehow that Christians are going to take over and impose a Christian theocracy on the nation. So what do you think sparked that idea? It seems more people are concerned about that happening since the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade. So how do you respond to people who voice that concern?
I think that that's just politics. If you're actually concerned about abortion, it's important to note that abortions have actually gone up since that decision. I think that this is a mischaracterization of what it means to bring Christianity into public life. America is a Christian nation because its founding was informed by Christianity. The overwhelming majority of Americans at the time of the founding were Christians. Even a majority of the founding father were ordinary Trinitarian Christians. Sometimes you hear scholars say, well, the founding fathers were all deists, or all the founding fathers were all religious nonconformists. Several of them were, and many important ones were. Certainly compared to the general population, there was a lot of non-Christian orthodoxy amongst the founding fathers. But you know what? A lot of them expressed publicly simple Orthodox Christianity. Patrick Henry, Samuel Chase, Charles Carroll, important founding fathers like that were clearly coming from a Christian tradition, and they grounded their understanding of natural rights that you can find in the Declaration of Independence and their understanding of the Christian God. So going forward, I don't think that we can so easily separate the public square in American life from Christianity. People who say that we need to have a 100% secular public square, I don't think have fully appreciated the fact that there's no real reason to disprivilege religiously motivated value judgments. All value judgments are controversial, but we can't disqualify some simply because we don't like where they're coming from. That's not what the First Amendment means. That's not what the Constitution says.
Alexander, a recent poll from the Cultural Research Center led by George Barna found while 67% of evangelicals typically vote, only 1/3 reported being very likely to vote in the 2024 general election. So why do you think that's happened? Why less political engagement from evangelicals?
That's a very good question. Evangelicalism is not my own faith tradition, so I can't speak to that specifically. What I think a lot of people are worried about is there does seem to be a push, especially coming from our friends on the left, saying that bringing any sort of religious motivated value judgment into public life is per se illegitimate. But that's not what the Constitution says, as we just established. Let's actually look at the First Amendment. The First Amendment is about not establishing a religion. When that document was written, when the First Amendment was written, establishment meant an official government-sponsored church. Now, there's an obvious reason why you wouldn't want a government-sponsored church at the national level, because there are many groups of Protestant Christianity and even a few Catholics at the time of the American founding, and nobody wanted to have this huge religious arms race by having politics tied up in a national religion. But also at the same time, many states, local governments did have official churches that they supported. Those would eventually come to be disestablished. But look at the arguments that people who supported disestablishment made. They were not looking to protect the government from the church. They were looking to protect the church from government. They thought that by allowing freedom of association, freedom of conscience, that would allow the most flourishing measure of religion possible, and specifically Christianity.
Well, finally then, so how can we have both a secular society and one that honors our Judeo-Christian foundation?
We need to recognize that however else you might get to natural rights, and that's ultimately what we've proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence, the rights that come from the God of nature, which was a common term used in Reformed Christianity at the time. So that's not a deist thing. We need to realize that whatever road you might take to get to natural rights, the historical road that America's best thinkers and statesmen have used, is Christianity. So if you're saying that you can't bring Christianity into public, you're saying that you cannot bring the belief system that justifies the rights of man into the public square. I'm not saying that you can't get there without some other belief system, although I think privately I'm skeptical that you can get there with some other belief system, except perhaps Judaism. But the point is, it doesn't matter if there's some hypothetical argument out there that doesn't involve religion that somehow provides a foundation for natural rights. Christianity provided that foundation. The Christian theory of personhood is rooted in the incarnation. There are certain things that we cannot do to each other, that it's wrong to do to each other, privately and publicly, because the image of God uniquely dwells in all of us. That comes from the incarnation of Jesus Christ. And if we're going to throw out religion, we have to realize that we've thrown out the foundation for the American experiment itself.
Okay, Alexander Salter, thank you for setting us straight today. We appreciate it.